Hey guys, JKman99 here, and welcome to my Lost videos. This is the final chapter of my top 10 videos that are featuring the numbers 4, 8, 15, 16, 23, 42. We finally got to 42. So what we're going to do today, as you already know from reading the thumbnail, is we are going to do the top 42 unanswered questions. So basically what this video is, it's not going to be a deep dive into theories or anything like that. It's not, and because there's so many, it's not going to be deep diving into any of these, quite honestly. I'm basically just going to read to you the unanswered questions, which, by the way, there might be some answers to. There might be like, oh, like, here's what the theory says it is. This is what most likely is. They kind of mentioned this in the show. But there's still a question mark around each of these. None of these are answered fully, and some of them don't have answers. They're just like, you can only theorize what the answer is, and we'll get into it when we get to it. So, well, any further ado, here are the top 42 unanswered questions of Lost. Number 42, who killed the Ajira passengers? Yeah, I mean, it's kind of assumed that it's Widmore, but you don't know if it's the monster, you don't know if it's the others. I mean, they leave that very ambiguous, so they never really answer that question. Number 41, who is Penny's mom? Yeah, I mean, they kind of tell you that, like, you know, Charles is obviously seeing somebody off island, but that's about it. They never give you the actual character of who Penny's mom is. Number 40, how did Danielle survive the purge? Based on the timeline of when the gas was released and everything like that, Danielle's on the island, so you don't really know like how she even survived. I mean, I guess that the obvious idea is she must have been far enough away that it didn't affect her, and you saw that Ben had to carry the can out when he killed his father, but I don't know. I mean, I think that one could have been answered a little bit better. Number 39, the volcano on the island. We never see the volcano. It's barely implied that the heart of the island is the volcano at the end, like a very, very extinct volcano. But clearly they were planning for some big volcano fight at the end of the series that never happened due to budgetary reasons. But you never even see it. Like, they never even, oh, there's the volcano over there. So that was kind of a letdown that they never go into what the volcano was. Number 38. How did Ben have money and power off island? Yeah, they never go into what happened with Ben off the island. He seems to be like a Widmore character off the island. There's tons of possibilities, and I think there was a great story opportunity that they completely missed out on by not going into Ben's life off of the island before the survivors got to the island. Number 37, the man who Sarah was with. Yeah, in the season 3 opening, they make a big deal of like trying to figure out like the man who Sarah was seeing. Like, Jack thought it was his father, and then, you know, even on the island, he had an opportunity to learn the name of the man, and you know, all he did was ask if she was happy, and you never quite know who it is. And I mean, I guess the answer on the show is it's basically just somebody that doesn't matter. But I mean, I don't know. They brought so much attention to it. It would have been nice to have a real, not just an extra, but, you know, like an actual like character of some kind be that person. Number 36, the Malkin family. Yeah, the psychic that Claire saw that kept going constantly back and forth. Like, he told Echo he was just a fraudster, but yet the daughter somehow knew what was going on in the afterlife, which of course completely is different than the afterlife the show gives you in season 6. And you don't really know if the Malkin family is a fraud or not, and they should have really established which it was. Number 35, Jack's shooting skills. Yeah, I mean, Jack is like an expert marksman with a gun, and they never go into where he learned his shooting skills. They should have at least addressed it with like a one-liner or two, just to explain how the man knows how to shoot a gun so well. Number 34, Desmond's monk knowing Hawking. Yeah, in the Desmond flashback, we see that the monk in charge of the monastery knows Eloise Hawking. I mean, clearly it's a Widmore connection, but they didn't deep dive into that at all, as whether or not, like, this was all some sort of a test. And it never leads into it. Like, you're never like, oh, like, she was guiding him the whole time. Maybe she was, though, because she knew the future. But, and you know, they set that all up to meet Penny in the first place, maybe, and maybe I just answered my own question. But, I mean, they could have gone into that at least a little bit. They could have showed a scene between the two of them. Number 33, why save Echo just to kill him? Yeah, I mean, we had the whole further instructions episodes where they saved Echo from the polar bear, but then 2 episodes later the monster kills Echo. So it's like, what was the point of all that? Like, that there was just, Echo in season 3 was just really, really pointless. Number 32, Boone in the Sweat Lodge. I mean, okay, this one, it's clearly it's a dream, it's not really Boone. Or is it Boone? See, that's the problem, because we also know that the dead are the ones that don't move on, so could that have been Boone on the island before he went to the afterlife preceding season 6? Like, they don't really tell you. It's probably a drug hallucination, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's actually Boone, and that's what I'm saying. Like, they never really go into what that even was. Number 31, Egyptians on the island. Yeah, they barely ever go into the Egyptian thing at all. There's a statue of Taweret. It was obviously an Egyptian statue. Okay, so Egyptians were on the island, but they never, ever show it. Like, they never, and they had the time travel. They had a ample opportunity to go back to Egyptian time, but they never did, and it was such a wasted opportunity. They could have even done it through flashback. There were so many different methods they could have done to explain the Egyptian situation on the island, but they're just like, oh yeah, there used to be Egyptians here, and they never went into it more than that. Number 30, skeletons at the heart of the island. Okay, so in the last episode, they go down to the heart, and you know, Desmond turns and he sees a couple skeletons of people who tried to take out the cork before him, and you know, I realize it's a stretch to be like, oh, who are those characters? But you know what? You are introducing a mystery on the last episode of the show. And quite honestly, like, you know, when you show something like that on Lost, like, eventually it has usually has some sort of a payoff. So doing that, I thought was a mistake. And that you never really got to know, like, who those people were who tried to do this before. Number 29, significance of Vincent. Yeah, the dog. I mean, is the dog important? Is the dog not important? I mean, I venture to think he's not important, but, like, there was always, you know, like, the fact that, like, you know, the monster Christian has Vincent go over and wake up Jack. I mean, you know, they could have really emphasized that Vincent was an important character, if you will, or not. Number 28, Isabel. Yeah, she's an other that's introduced in Stranger in a Strange Land, and you never see her again. Very frustrating. That's why a lot of people don't like that episode as well, and not just the flashback. It's canon that she died in the season 3 finale off camera, but that's ridiculous. They should have, if you're going to introduce a character like that and call her the sheriff of the island, you got to do more with her than just one episode. Very huge missed opportunity. Number 27. Why didn't Penny want Desmond to write to him in jail when she hated him at the time? Okay, remember the line where Penny was like, why didn't you write to me? Well, then we learn later on that, you know, she didn't want to give him her number. Remember that? Like, in the constant, like, you know, Desmond had to basically beg for the number, but then a few years later, Penny's wondering, like, why didn't you write to me? It's a huge disconnect. Maybe something happened in between where they got back together recently and then he went to jail and they just never got to that flashback. But, you know, that was annoying, just the discontinuity there. Number 26, why was Desmond in jail? Okay, so it's implied that he didn't follow orders in the army. They say that at the end of season 2. But, like, what were the orders? What happened? What did he possibly do to go to prison? He must have chosen not to fight in a battle or something. I don't know. They should have at least gone into what that was. I mean, because without going into it, it could be anything, you know? So they should have gone into it. Number 25, the importance of Aaron. Yeah, I mean, Aaron, kind of like Vincent, was Aaron important or not? They never really go into it. I think he was a way more important character than he's related to Jack, he's related to Christian, he's related to Claire. They made it really seem like there was something going on with that Shephard family in relation to the entire story of the island, but they never really go into it. And so, you know, maybe he was just a kid born on the island, it wasn't a big deal at all, but And that's kind of how they left it. But, you know, I think Aaron was more important than we thought he was, and they should have, you know, established that either he was important or not. Number 24, the secondary protocol. I mean, what was the secondary protocol? I mean, they only said, oh my God, they're going to the secondary protocol, but they never really explained what it was. Number 23, is the smoke monster a demon or the man in black? Okay, so this part's really hard to understand, because like, in the Across the Sea episode, Jacob buries his brother. He says goodbye to his brother, but yeah, it's kind of revealed that the smoke monster is the brother later on. But did the smoke monster die, or did his brother die like the moment he made contact with the smoke monster, and then the smoke monster just took on the appearance of the brother the whole time, and the smoke monster was always just taking the appearances of certain things, or not? Because it really seems like it's the guy. Like, it really seems like the monster became the man who just wanted to get off the island. So, but it's really not clear. So, I mean, like, and the fact that that's such a huge plot point for the entire show, and I can't say to you, like, which it is, that tells you something. Number 22. How did Mikhail communicate with the outside world with Danielle's signal blocking transmissions? This is a big one. I mean, like, we saw in season 3 that, like, Mikhail had all those televisions, and, like, he was able to get information on all the passengers and all that stuff. But then when they tried to make a signal off the island, Danielle's signal's blocking it. So how did the two mix? You can't tell me that, like, oh, if Desmond only used the radio over there on that side of the island, suddenly he would have contact on the outside of the world. Maybe. Now, in fact, they never try that. They never try to make contact with the outside world in Dharmaville territory, if you will. So maybe that's what the answer is. Maybe certain parts of the island you couldn't make contact, other parts you could, and they just never tried. But then, like, they made that huge deal about blocking the signal, and all they had to do was just take that same radio over to where the flame originally was. That's a huge missed opportunity to answer that question. Number 21. How did Mother kill MIB's town? Yeah, remember in Across the Sea where, like, you know, all the other Roman people just were suddenly dead and you have no idea why? It's implied that the mother was also kind of a smoke monster, but you never see it. And if that's not the case, how did she kill everybody? They never give you any explanation as to why that happened. Number 20, Alana's connection to Jacob. Yeah, I mean, you know, Alana says that Jacob was like a father to her, but they never go into how they met or anything like that, and they really should have gone into that stuff. Number 19, how can Miles and Hurley talk to the dead? Yeah, I mean, they go into that, like, Miles can talk to the dead, Hurley can talk to the dead, and maybe Miles can talk to the dead because of, you know, being exposed to the island, but they never go into why Hurley can talk to the dead. And, I mean, just think about it. Yeah, we know Hurley can do it, but why? They never explain it. Number 18. Why didn't Alana fight Flock before Jacob's death? Yeah, remember all that? Like, they're on the Hydra Island, and, you know, she came over, she gave him fruit. I mean, like, if you know that John Locke is not John Locke at the time, because you see that his body's in the box, this is a really good time to fight him right then, as opposed to later on when you tried to fight him at the season finale. Like, so I mean, there was clearly a disconnect there that the show didn't account for. Number 17, bearing 305 versus bearing 325. At the end of season 2, Michael and Walt leave the island following a bearing of 325, and they successfully leave the island, as we find out. But then after that season, the bearing is always 305. Now, I know that in season 5 they talked about calculating new bearings and all that stuff, and yes, you know, Desmond flipped the key, but then it's like, but then how'd the bearing work if that changed what the bearing was, you know? So they never really go into that. It could have just been a simple mistake, or there could have been something to it, but they never explain why there's two different bearings like that. It just doesn't add up. Number 16, how does Ben lose his memory when healed? Yeah, I mean, this was just a simple one. They just say, oh, like, he'll never be the same again. He's not going to remember what happened to him. And it was just a simple plot contrivance, you know, that they did say that when, like, oh, that's why he didn't remember Saeed shooting him. And that was stupid. Sorry. Number 15, how did the man in black know Eloise was in LA. Yeah, remember when he's Christian, he says, like, oh, when you get to LA, just ask for Eloise Hawking. Okay, how does he know this information? Like, they never go into how or why the monster knows that much information about what's going on. Number 14, Mikhail's Many Lives. Yeah, remember we saw Mikhail die with the sonic fence, and then later on he shows up, and then, you know, you think he dies when he gets shot, and then he shows up in the water again, and then, you know, then I guess he finally dies, but like, oh, I thought, good thing the pylons weren't set on to lethal. Bull crap. I'm sorry. He died, right? He died when he was supposed to. They brought him back. The show really jumped the shark with that one. They should have never brought back Mikhail after he died. Number 13. How does Eloise see the future? Okay, now this one is explained mostly. Like, they give you the explanation that the journal has just been going through a rotation over time, where, you know, Eloise gives the journal to Daniel gives the journal back to Eloise, and just circle, you're writing stuff down over and over. But, like, how did Eloise know that the guy with red shoes was gonna die? That was in the journal? Like, when did Desmond tell Daniel this? When did Eloise tell Daniel this to write down in the journal? Like, there's no way it was just the journal. I know they imply it. I know they really, really imply that that's it. But there's no way. That's the only way that Eloise knows these things. It just doesn't add up at all. Number 12, Christian Shephard off island and flash forward. Okay, so this one, we see Christian off. Now, see, like, we know that at the end of season 4, Christian on island is supposed to be, or on the boat, I should say, is supposed to be the smoke monster that, you know, of course, can't go over the water, but somehow did. I don't know if that's one of my unanswered questions, but it should be. I guess it relates. But then in season 4, like before that, right before Jax turns to drugs, he sees Christian at the hospital, and that's definitely not the smoke monster, because the whole smoke monster's point is trying to get off the island. So what's going on there? Like, I guess it was a hallucination again. Like, Jack's not sleeping, so he's hallucinating his father again. But obviously, when he never did hallucinate his father, because on the island that was the smoke monster in disguise. So what's up with that? They never like. I guess he was just he hallucinated his dad. I guess that happened, but pretty rough explanation there, I gotta tell you. Number 11, Charlie with Hurley versus Charlie in Afterlife. Yeah, so in season 4, we see Charlie, who's supposed to be dead, like, talk to Hurley at the mental hospital, but then we see Charlie again in the Flash Sideways in season 6, which is a different afterlife. So, like, how are both the same at the same time? How are you seeing these two different afterlife versions of Charlie? I mean, did this happen after Charlie went through the light, you know, post season 6? And then that's when he's able to come back and talk to Hurley? They never explain that whole entire process, and it's totally up to interpretation. Number 10, why didn't Desmond and Charlotte wake up in the end? Yeah, so, okay, they showed all these other loved ones, like, hugging and kissing and all that fun stuff, like, when they realized that they were dead in this Flash Sideways. And it usually came through, like, loved ones connecting. But then when Desmond and Charlotte meet, nothing. Now, the simple explanation is Charlotte never loved Desmond, which is just sad if you think about it. But, you know, I mean, I feel like those two should have waked. They did it to everybody else. Like, I think there was almost enough love from Desmond that there should have been some sort of a wake-up call there. I'm sorry. Number 9, what was the deal with taller ghost Walt? Yeah, remember at the end of season 3, like, John Locke's woken up by a taller version of Walt that's on the island. There's never an explanation of what that was. It's not the smoke monster, because Walt's never dead. So what was it? Was it a hallucination? They never explain it, and that's just wrong by the show. Number 8, Ben seeing his mom. Exactly the same problem. They never explain what this was. It's obviously not. I mean, I guess it could be the mom, maybe, like, the ones that can't move on, because Isabella was on the island, so so there's wiggle room to say that was the mom who couldn't move on. You could say that. Or was it a hallucination? The point is, we don't know. They should have explained how Ben was able to see his mother. Number 7, why didn't everyone time jump? Okay, yeah, so there's no explanation as to why only certain people time traveled and certain people didn't. For instance, like you could say like, oh, it was just the survivors, and you could say that, but why though? There's seriously no explanation as to why the others didn't time travel, but only the survivors did. I mean, but you can't say that because Claire didn't time travel. So, and Locke was with the others and he time traveled. So there's no reason why this should happen. And then of course, the big one is in 316 when they come back on the Ajira flight, only some of them come back, some of them don't. Now the explanation is, oh, well, it'll be unpredictable if you can't get everybody who left to come back. That was just plot to get them in certain time periods. And you could use that as an explanation. Okay, fine. But it really does not explain the on-island discrepancies in the time travel as to why only certain people would time travel and certain people wouldn't. And even if it was random, some of the others, just by probability law, should have time traveled, and they didn't. So it makes really no sense. Number 6, how did Ben know about the wheel? Yeah, so Ben blew up part of the Orchid Station to get to the wheel, and then he gets out of there. But how does he know all this information? Do all the leaders know that? I mean, that's kind of what my theory is that the leaders are told about that room. But the problem is that room's pretty sealed. Obviously, I think there's another way in, kind of like the hatch, but Ben clearly didn't know the other way in if there was one. So, I guess it's kind of in case of emergency, break glass type of situation. But yeah, and Widmore clearly knew it too because, they said, oh, Ben's going to go to the Orchid. So, but it's implied that was used several times. But then how come, it wasn't used except 50 years ago? The whole idea that the only way in there was to blow up part of the Orchid was kind of painful because it's okay, there must be more to it than this. How does Ben know about this? And on a second note, how do other people even know he turned the wheel? In season 5, Miles is when Ben turned that wheel, how do you know he even turned a wheel? So there you go. All right, number 5, why is the island at the bottom of the ocean? Okay, so if they did what they should have done, which was, 2 different universes, it makes sense that the reason the island's at the bottom of the ocean in the Flash Sideways is because the bomb worked, and that's where the island went. But we know it's the afterlife. So what was the island doing on the bottom of the ocean in the afterlife? Did the island die in the afterlife, and therefore it's on the bottom of the ocean? There's never an explanation as to why the island is on the bottom of the ocean in the Flash Sideways. Period. Number 4, the truck in the polar bear cave. Okay, I know this is a light one, but look, in further instructions, Locke goes into the cave and, he sees a toy truck, and some maps and stuff. Clearly, I know the explanation is it was obviously Dharma people at some point that went in the cave, but why are you showing that? It's why are you, who cares at that point? Why even add in, ooh, whose truck is this if you're never going to pay it off with anything? That always just really, really bothered me in that episode. It's whose truck is this? Come on. If anybody knows, let me know. Number 3, Jacob's cabin. Yes, this is so huge. It's implied that that Goodspeed was the one that built it, okay? The Dharma built the cabin. All right, fine. But then how does the cabin move on the island? Is the cabin hallucinatory? Is it only seen by certain people? And then, of course, in season 5, they just burn it in a random spot that clearly was not the spot that it was before, but I guess the cabin moved, so whatever. They never explain what the cabin is, or if it's special, or even if it's not. There's just no explanation. And if you're going to introduce something like that, you can't just burn it up in season 5 and call it a day. You got to explain what was going on with the cabin. And they never did. Or at least the explanation they gave you was never satisfactory. Number 2, how does Jacob travel to and from the island? Yeah, this one's huge, guys. I know there's the wheel, right? The wheel gets Ben off the island. So they kind of give you an explanation. But if that room has been locked up for, 50 years like they implied when Ben, blows up part of the orchid, how is Jacob getting off and on the island? They never explain that. Are we honestly led to believe that Jacob took a boat off every time and took a plane back every time or sailed back and forth? They never explain it, ever. They never go into it. It's a complete mystery, and maybe even the biggest mystery on the entire show, except for one, which is my number 1. And it goes full circle to all these videos. Here we go. Number 1. The numbers. 4, 8, 15, 16, 23, 42. In other words, Hurley's number curse. What was the point of the numbers? They make such a big deal about the numbers all the time. It's written on the hatch door. It was being broadcast overseas. And then Hurley plays the lottery with it, and then he may or may not be having a luck streak based on that. Good luck or bad luck, you really don't know. They kind of imply in the middle of season 3 that the numbers, it's a big nothing burger, like you make your own luck, okay. But then, at the end of season 4, when the helicopter crashes, Hurley's clearly in the boat, unfazed by the whole thing, and you're just like, oh yeah, he has the luck because of the numbers. But they never explain that at all. Like, they're just like, ah ha ha, it's a chance. No, go into what the numbers are. Give the numbers actual meaning. Explain where they came from and whether or not they have any power at all, and if so, where does the power come from? They never go into any of that. And if you're going to introduce a concept like that and constantly have the numbers showing up all over the place, you need to come up with some explanation besides just saying, oh, it was written on the hatch door, it was a serial number, and then, maybe somebody read that serial number on a broadcast. It just doesn't make any sense. And they really need to go into it. That all being said, I still love this show. I love this show so much. And I want to thank you guys for watching these videos so far. Let me know what your favorite unsolved mysteries are on the show of Lost. I'd love to hear what they are. And like I told you a few months back, we're now at the end of the top 10 series using 4, 8, 15, 16, 23, 42. So now we're going to go into what I like to call the Lost What If series. Yes, we're going to do a fan fiction of all 6 seasons. And each one I'm going, and you'll see, but each one is going to have one significant change, and that stems to the rest of the series. It may or may not be related, but anyway, I'll let you guys figure it out when we get to those videos. So, thank you so much for tuning into this video. Make sure to like and subscribe to the page as you leave. And as always, take care. Hey guys, I'm making this recording after I edited the video, and there's one other thing I wanted to throw in about the numbers, and that is what happened in season 6. I realized after I recorded this, I did not mention both the cave where Jacob put the numbers on the ceiling, and I also didn't mention Jacob's lighthouse, where all of the numbers are clearly lined up to characters on the show. And that seems to be the show's quote-unquote answer for the numbers, especially because the lighthouse is used to see what everyone's doing off-island. The only issue I still have is everything that I already said. That still doesn't explain why Hurley has good luck, whether or not that's all just coincidence, or there's some actual power from the numbers. That part of it is never explained. We don't even understand how the numbers written on Jacob's lighthouse had anything to do with the serial number on the hatch door. I mean, there's all that stuff that just really has no real connection, or how those same numbers happen to be the ones that Hurley chose for the lottery. At the end of the day, none of that really makes any sense. So I realized, like, while listening to it, the natural instinct will be like, oh, wait a minute, no, we know what the numbers are. They're the numbers used for the candidates. It's like, yeah, but that still doesn't explain the core issue with the numbers, why they're being seen everywhere and all those things. It's just another layer of what the numbers are used for on the show. So I hope that clears up why the numbers are the biggest unsolved mystery of all of Lost. Thanks for tuning into these after credits. Take care.